Hey there, I'm Crazy, and this is Land Above, Sea Below, which is a turn-based landscape building game. We place tiles to expand the island and rise tiles by creating synergies with more than 3 connecting tiles. And basically the sea level will rise at the end of each turn of each season, so make sure that the tree of fall is higher than the rest of the sea level. Essentially, this is a game on Steam for $6. It is released on September 13th, 2013 by the developer of Glass Cannon Studios with the publisher of Skystone Games. Currently, it is rated at positive at 46 ratings, but with an 80% positive rating. And it's basically just an atmospheric strategy and puzzle game where you just build your island from tiles in order to raise its height as much as possible and just avoid getting flooded. So I'm gonna go and dive right into it. And even then it shows you the controls right here, which is nice. The music in it is actually really quite calming. Actually, I do enjoy the little catching up to listen to this. Yeah, I'm gonna take a look at it. Basic controls right here. You can use the left mouse button to move the camera or the arrow keys, but usually I would like to use it, zoom it. You just use the scroll wheel back and forth, and then rotate it using right click and Q and E. It does give you keyboards if you want to just do purely keyboard or purely mouse. But we're gonna extend it. So how does this? So I'm already getting more Dorfromantik vibes kind of thing, at least with the hex tile ones, and looking on the Steam page, especially on the international promo video, looks like there's gonna be some discoverable hex tiles and specialty buildings that you can get and a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, so far it's extend your island. Alright, where do I need a place? Is there does appear to be a, okay, so there does be a matching base system. You get more resources / points if you happen to match with that. At least what I'm saying. Right down here it says ×2. So if I were to place it there, then I don't know what entirely would go about it. Here's, yeah, you can also rotate the tile as well. But so far, so create synergies. Yeah, no, here's that if you were to create tiles, you were supposed to, I don't know if there was going to be multiple different tiles or whatnot, but right now, so it appears that if you place near tiles, it would, so if you build it up as long as there's 2 different things that will raise. I'm not entirely sure how this gameplay would work entirely. It seems like as you keep connecting the tiles, you want to keep raising it. So I'm just curious of how this goes about doing so. So it seems like every time you close some, then it will raise all the tiles around it. So you kind of want to. Oh, did I mess up there? Or I guess I'm supposed to hit next season. Okay. So it appears that you can only do a certain amount of tiles before. Don't know what that stands for, but so it appears that you get at least several turns to go ahead and. So it looks like you want to try and match up as much points as possible to essentially just at least just make sure that the tide doesn't go too high, essentially. And the entire goal of this is just to keep that little tree apart, or at least above. Home-based tiles, so those ones are going to be different. They can be placed anywhere, but you won't get any bonus points. Essentially, oh yeah, this is kind of giving me like Dorfromantic kind of vibes, where you have to at least match the tiles, but each turn essentially will just continuously raise the given little like building kind of dealio. And it appears that there are like yeah, so this is like almost similar enough to Dorfromantic, and I'm not sure if the developers actually took inspiration from that. So I'm seeing a lot of similarities with it, and I know I'm comparing it to everything, but if that's their inspiration, yeah, it's pretty entertaining in its own right. And I don't understand this particular one. Yeah, so it looks like you, as long as you keep making, at least getting these challenges up, then you can kind of succeed them, but they will slowly drift down. I am just confused. I am just gonna clear this because I am honestly a little bit confused on how this entirely works. Okay, so far it seems interesting, but I am confused on the initial like premise about it. Like, it seems like you have to connect tiles at least around to then essentially start raising it up, but it doesn't necessarily specifically state how you happen to do so entirely, like how the whole like sea level rising, sinking kind of mechanic works and how you are supposed to keep it up, because it essentially says like connect tiles together, and I wish at least just kind of clarify that in a little bit, if that makes sense, because right now I'm just looking at it and I'm figuring out how is this entirely kind of making sense, because it doesn't necessarily say, oh, you have to specifically have a certain amount or a particular amount of tiles to, or at least what you would have to do to then raise it, because it appears that it just will start raising each and every single tile the more that you essentially raise. Or I guess it doesn't, I'm just a bit confused on that front personally. And like how the buildings at least raise. I'm just confused on how to get like essentially just these little like building portions to essentially start raising. Because right now it's just saying, hey, these are gonna sink, and it doesn't necessarily give me an option on like how are these particular like building structure types actually are supposed to like go up and increase the landmass essentially. Because I am confused on this, because to me, like, it looks like you have to surround a particular one, but if you don't do anything, then it will just destroy everything, if that makes sense. Because, like, yeah, because I'm not entirely sure how you're supposed to, like, raise the tiles, because at least I'm getting a little bit annoyed on how it's supposed to, quote-unquote, work, but this is the one thing I'm just utterly, like, confused at personally, because I don't understand how these get raised compared to like other based like tile kind of, because it doesn't necessarily explicitly tell you like how does these particular tiles actually be raised or what, because that's just the confusing bit to me. I'm just utterly confused because, like, yeah, you attach these to the side, but it doesn't necessarily explicitly say, like, I put 2 here, it doesn't raise, but if I were to put, like, it looks like you have to put, like, at least a bare minimum of, like, around 5. like tiles to then just begin to raise, or what has it, but I'm just confused on which like how does this at least raising like the particular, and like that's also another confusing thing. Like I don't understand how these buildings are supposed to be raised. Like it looks like it's supposed to. It's just confusing right now. I'm just more or less more confused compared to anything else, because I'm just trying to figure out, okay, these are supposed to raise, or at least kind of like bring these kind of structures upwards, but because right now, like, yeah, it's not saying there is like particular anything to say, oh, these are going to be gone, like just forget about them. Like, I don't know, it doesn't necessarily explicitly state on how it raises or what has it. Like, it says you just plan ahead, like place tiles to expand it, right? Yeah, like 3 or more connecting tiles, but I did that with the buildings, but it doesn't raise the buildings, at least in any regard, so I'm not entirely sure if that works or what has it. Because I'm placed like 3 different building tiles right here. It necessarily didn't like raise it entirely. Like that's just the confusing bit. Like I don't understand how certain tiles are. I'm either thinking like, are certain tiles just disposable or what is going on with it? I'm honestly confused. Like it gives you mostly just a bunch of river-based tiles, which is cool, I assume, I guess. But again, like, it doesn't necessarily state, hey, like, this particular tiles need to be higher compared to the other ones or what has. Like, yeah, like, these are all saying they, or at least are impending, but then I'm assuming they're gonna be all gone, but I'm just more or less confused on what am I supposed to be doing. Like, right here, all the river tiles basically say, these are fine, these are cleared, you do not have to worry about those, but I'm just entirely confused on which particular kind of dealios to, or at least like how this essentially works out, because you're supposed to be connecting tiles together, and you connect more than 3 to essentially just begin raising the like terrain. Like this one here, like raise it higher. How do I raise this particular one higher? And I wish that at least in the tutorial it kind of explains it on what you are supposed to do to continuously raise in the terrain, because right now I'm just confused on how do I raise it. Okay, you raise it by 3 tiles, but I don't know specifically how to do it for particular like tiles. Like, do I particularly, what am I supposed to technically full on do, and like how do I make sure certain tiles are not, it's like I can see these walls, yeah, technically these don't like bring them down under, but certain tiles is like raise this by this height. How am I supposed to do that when I'm like, I feel like it's more geared and all that towards a specific type, or at least like it's geared more towards at least like housing, because so far I've just been mostly just getting housing or compared to like other particular tiles. Like I don't know which are supposed to be better. I don't know if certain tiles are just worse compared to others or what entirely. Like right now I placed that, but like that one just lowers down, but there is other ones that will just, and that's just my thing right now, because I'm more or less just confused on, like, yeah, all these will be flooded, but I don't understand how to rise or make, like, the housing tiles rise, because right now it just basically says these are throwaway based tiles. It does not matter. You might as well just throw them away. They do not exist. They never existed in the first place. Like, that is, I'm just so confused by all, like, this kind of tile dealio. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be fully doing. Like, like, the tutorial was decent, but it doesn't necessarily explain, like, hey, you should do this particular thing, or here's some tips and tricks to keep certain tiles just available, or do they have to be connected like this, or are they connected like that, and, like, yeah, like, all these are now syncing, but I don't understand how are they supposed to, like, rise, or what am I doing entirely wrong with, or at least these particular kind of things. Like, I understand river tiles technically are just immovable, they cannot be raised, or what has it, but, like, okay, I place a lake there, it raises these tiles, but it just leaves them there, or now it actually scratches that, lowers them, but that's it just lowers them, it doesn't necessarily do anything apart from that. So I'm just confused, even more so compared to anything else. Like, it initially gives me Dorfromantic vibes, but I'm just confused on what I'm supposed to entirely do. Like, it's a neat game in theory, but I'm just, like, I don't understand how you're supposed to rate. Like, I understand you use 3 things, but I don't know. I don't know if this is kind of gonna be the game I would, like, full on recommend to people, because it's just confusing entirely. Like, it's an interesting premise, but I don't understand how you do certain actions, if that makes sense. Because, like, I understand there is these housing tiles, but I don't know how to raise them, and each single time you get you're supposed to get these, like, main primary tiles, but I hardly ever see them essentially being, like, used to, at least, I don't know, like, raise the structure or the infrastructure of the particular tiles that they essentially give you to, like, I don't know if this is what I'm supposed to be doing, just kind of selecting, going along, making sure they all kind of quote-unquote fit, but at the same time they do not, so like, I don't know if these are supposed to be, like, assembled or put together this way, or what. Because again, it doesn't particularly tell me, like, oh, hey, you do these particular tiles. Like, I can clearly see, yeah, that's raising and that's rising the tiles. But you have to, at least what I'm saying, you have to match 3 to raise it. But when every single tile is mostly just housing, I don't entirely see that full-on, I guess, grasp of the picture. Like, here, like, it gives me 2 more additional turns for that, which is cool and all, but I'm not sure. I just don't know if this probably... Now I'm getting, like, a new tile, 4 tiles, like, what am I supposed to do with that? This isn't for me personally, but... Like, everything I think is fine. I'm more or less just confused on what I'm supposed to be doing. I understand this is a small team, but it's just, I'm more or less confused on the mechanics of the, like, raising the tiles. It specifically said, at least I don't remember, but it specifically said that through the main menu, which people may or may not check, but it is there, and I just wanna say, hey, it's an interesting game, but honestly, it's a little bit more confusing, especially when it comes to the tiles and, like, what's gonna go on. Like, it doesn't necessarily say, oh, hey, this tile is in danger, you should do this or replace this, but it's just confusing to me personally that I'm sure people will enjoy this, but I'm just confused, more so than anything. I'm not saying it's entirely bad, but if it has a little bit more additional polish, then I'm sure it will be much better. But right now, I'm just, like I said, I'm entirely confused. I'm don't fully understand what am I supposed to be doing compared to other games. Like, if I wanted to play a game like Dorfromantik, I would rather probably play Dorfromantik. This is similar enough in concept, but I probably would just recommend Dorfromantik instead. This, I can probably see the entire inspiration from it, but it's just not for me, Chief, honestly. I'm gonna say I would recommend it, but I would wait a little while for it. But yeah, that's just me personally. I'm not a fan of it, but I can understand it's a small team. They're creating their game and all that, but I can see there's a lot of inspiration, or at least a lot of influence from Dorfromantik, and nothing wrong with Dorfromantik. In fact, Dorfromantik is probably one of my more favorite relaxing games, and has a nice tune, like a nice music, soundtrack, etc. Decent enough, like just puzzle-based gameplay. You match tiles, you don't have to worry about like any syncing or whatnot. This one, it's interesting, like you get the syncing aspects, and that works completely fine, but it's just confusing on what to do. It says place 3 adjacent tiles. From the looks of it, you have to make sure you have to do like a match 3, essentially a +3 and not like a +2 or a +1 to do so. I could be wrong, and it's just doing something entirely different, but yeah, this one isn't for me personally, but everyone has their own taste, but this one's just not it for me, Chief. But anyways, I would honestly just give it a recommendation for anyone who wants to do it. It's like $60 USD on Steam. You can try it. If you don't like it, technically you could always refund it, but yeah, that's everything for me. Anyways, see ya.